watching us today as we kind of wind things up. You're an entrepreneur, so give us, why you decided to go the entrepreneurial route versus why you decided, because we're taught our entire, from kindergarten all the way through college, go to school, get a good job, get the white picket fence, but you took a different approach where it's not about the degree and then the job. So tell us about why you chose the entrepreneurial route as part of what your life's purpose was.
Yeah, one name, Tommy. And I'll tell you what Tommy means. So like I said, I grew up very poor. I grew up with my grandparents, and
which is who the business is named after.
Yeah. So Wharton Gladden is actually named after my grandparents, Irene Wharton and Frank Gladden. And my mom had me when she was about 17 years old, and just wasn't necessarily in the position and the frame of mind to care for an infant. So I went to live with my grandparents, and they were kind enough to take me in, and ended up really teaching me a lot. I mean, and you and I have known each other for several years, and I pretty much attest everything that I have to them in terms of my knowledge and my wisdom and just my foundation and so forth. Now, the thing that they did not know a lot about was business. I mean, they didn't know a lot about making money or investing in anything or starting businesses or anything. My grandmother was entrepreneurial. She just didn't realize it. I mean, she would do hair on the side on the weekends, and she'd bake cakes on the side, and she would fix fish plates and sell them on the side. And so I grew up around two people who were entrepreneurial, but yet they didn't know they were entrepreneurial, but I observed it. And that's really where my work ethic came from, in terms of just being willing to work so hard. But there was a guy that used to come by our house named Tommy, and Tommy was the landlord. And Tommy would come to the house, and inevitably he'd show up around the first part of the month, like clockwork. And Tommy would come by, and he'd be there for maybe 15, 20 minutes. He'd known my grandmother for a long time, so he'd come in and chat with her a little bit. But when he left, he'd always have some money in his hand. And I would see this month after month, and I never really seen Tommy doing any work. I just saw him show up, and then when he left, he had some money in his hand.
Right.
And so I didn't really know what Tommy did, but I knew I wanted to be like Tommy. Okay. And I remember asking my grandmother, I said, well, what does Tommy do? And she said, well, he owns this house and the house next door, and he owns a lot of the houses on the block here, and he's the landlord. And so that was really, I jokingly say that, but that was really one of the first times that I had seen someone that was a true entrepreneur and investor. And so that was just something I always wanted to be and subscribe to. But when I first got into finance, I started out working with Solomon Smith Barney. And when you're working as a financial advisor, you're pretty much just an independent contractor. I mean, it's no different than if you sell insurance or something like that.
Right.
And so when I had that opportunity, that really was the first time that I was also able to be entrepreneurial, and so I just sort of took it from there. But,
right. So one thing I got out of that was never really underestimate the power of your influence on somebody else, which is a big part of the reason why I wanted to go this route, being a lot more transparent. That's why I'm on Snapchat. I mean, a 35-year-old mayor on Snapchat.
Exactly. He's trying to get me on Snapchat.
I did get you on Snapchat earlier.
My Snapchat debut right here in Kinston, North Carolina. Who would have guessed it?
And it's all about, I think there's some value that I can bring, and I want to share that knowledge. And I think Tommy did that, but he wasn't intentional about it. He just did. And I would argue that maybe if Tommy recognized that you were curious, that maybe if he latched onto you a little bit, you would be much further ahead today.
I could be, that's right. I tell you, and I'm glad you're saying this before we wrap up today, but there have been countless people. We have to do this whole segment again, but there's been countless people along the way where they've had that kind of an impact and influence on my life. I think about Tommy. I think about a young lady named Chalet, who was my first manager when I was at McDonald's. I mean, just one of those hardworking young ladies I've ever met in my life. Really saw something in me, gave me a job when I was 15. By 16, she made me her breakfast manager, and just somebody who really believed in me. I think about, I also think about when I first started Wharton Gladden, and a guy named Tom Dickens, who was managing director at Smith Barney, and once again, somebody who just really saw something in me, believed in me, taught me a lot, gave me a lot of guidance. I think about Skip Brown, who you've had a chance to meet,
right.
and, a gentleman who started his own bank, and didn't have any reason why he had to do this, but when I started Wharton Gladden, he would meet with me almost every Friday and just give me a lot of direction and guidance. So there's been countless people, and if I didn't say your name, I'm sorry, but but there's been countless people along the way that have helped me out. But then also, BJ, there have been people that have helped me that didn't know they were helping me, and Tommy's one of them. You know, here I am, this young poor kid, living in a complete wrong environment. You know, and I'm sort of watching this guy, and I'm watching what he does, but he doesn't even know that he's helping me.
Right.
So I say that to say, sometimes you get these calls. People will call you up and say, "Hey, you know, I'm really looking for a mentor. Mayor Murphy, will you be my mentor?" or whatever the case may be. Sometimes I tell people I'm like the worst mentor because I'm not always available, and you sort of need someone that's constantly available and can sit down with you. But then I also tell people that in order to have a mentor, sometimes that person doesn't even need to know that they're mentoring you. You can go out and find people that are doing the things that you want to do, that are already successful, that's already at the point that you want to be at, and you can watch them. You can keep up with them through the newspaper. You can nowadays with technology, you can follow them on Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and LinkedIn. I mean, you got all these platforms where you can just follow them and engage with them. So sometimes you can find a mentor and engage with that person, and that person doesn't even, quite frankly, have to know that they're mentoring you. I mean, you can just be following them.